My name is Happy Anderson, and I understand that you enjoyed the part in Bird Box where Sandra Bullock slammed me in the face with an oar and cut my neck open with a machete. You sick, sick man. But most importantly, the most important piece of advice that I'm told anyone can give you is, whatever you do, don't go out there.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on our website. Brian's done a fantastic job with it. All of our episodes and interviews from episode 1 to the weekly release are there. We've done some incredible interviews in the past with horror legends. Check those out. It's a lot easier to find them on our website compared to like Apple or Spotify. We have our store. We have some new t-shirts, new merch out. They're awesome. Rep your favorite podcast. And we also have a link to Shan's Etsy page if you want to grab a tumbler. Those are selling like crazy. We also have our blog. We've all wrote some think pieces, like our pitch a sequel episode. We have some, scripts up. Check those out. And I also want to shout out our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with our fans. We love meeting new people. We love, just growing this podcast and meeting horror fans all over the world. And we love interacting with you. We love reading your questions, your comments on the air. The last thing I'm going to shout out on our website is our Patreon called Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. Takes a big burden off of us. None of that money goes into our pockets, just goes directly back into the podcast to help pay for site hosting, our actual website, where we put all our files, etc. And we also have a one-time donation. You're a big fan of a movie you want us to review. We have that tier available as well. Next week, we'll be reviewing 2 blood donor picks, so I'm excited to get those done. Tonight, we'll be concluding Mike's theme of streaming original month with Brother Dustin's pick. Dustin, you want to announce your pick and why you picked it?
Yeah, so I picked Bird Box from, I believe, was it 2018? 2018. I picked this movie because it pissed me off. Like I remember watching it when it came out. I think I told the story last week. Had a girl over and we wanted to watch a movie. She was wanting to watch a scary movie. And this movie is just like, it just left. I texted you guys this in the chat. This is the movie version of Blue Balls. Now that night wasn't, but this was Blue Balls. It left a lot to be desired as far as the ending goes. So I wanted to pick it and get your guys' thoughts on it.
All right, I'll go next. I hadn't seen this movie until, this week when Dustin picked it. I had seen the memes. I've seen, it on Netflix, like scrolling past it, but I never watched it. Just never had the desire, really. I thought the movie, kind of like last week with Sun, I thought it was okay. But I will say the movie is too long for sure. Going back and forth between the timelines got a little frustrating. There's just a lot of issues I had with it, similar to A Quiet Place, which is a similar movie, where I just don't buy certain things, and it's just hard to believe that people are blindfolded running through the damn woods and making it through a river. I just don't buy that you can flip a John boat over and survive without looking. But otherwise, I thought the movie was well made. It was well acted. Had a fun cast. Sandra Bullock, Sarah Paulson, Lil Rel, MGK. I mean, it's a fun cast. I'm not going to say MGK was a great actor, but it was a fun cast. But overall, movies. I mean, he was there and he did his job. But the movie was just okay to me. I think I'm going to be more like Brian and Dustin last week. I'm going to rate it more on how it was made and the technical aspects of it compared to my actual enjoyability. Because I probably won't ever watch this movie again. Just being honest, I feel like I've gotten enough out of it. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, that's fair. I don't really have a lot of good reasons why, but I liked it. But with that said, just a little disclaimer, I'm one of the few people I've found who actually liked The Happening, and I loved 03's Dawn of the Dead, so this movie reminded me a lot of both of those.
This movie's basically The Happening. It really is.
and I actually like The Happening. So I don't know, I'm weird, but I've also seen, like you said, a lot of comparisons to Quiet Place, which I loved, and that's going to happen since they came out pretty much the same time. But these film rights were actually purchased, I think, way back in 2013. I read Florida State national champs, go Noles. But high production quality. I don't know what the budget was, but it looked amazing. Now, look, this movie, I understand why people don't like it. Like, this movie's got a lot of logical issues, in my opinion. Like, look, I'll just get into one of them now. There's no fucking reason why you couldn't have just looked out the bottom of the blindfold. Like, if you just kind of like looking down the whole time, right? I mean, that's crazy. That seems like the more logical thing to do here. But also, I think, like last week, this one has low watchability factor. I agree with Nico there. But anyway, I love Sandra Bullock. I always have in everything she's been in. Although I did skip Speed 2. But I thought it was a fun little movie, and I liked it.
Oh, man. I'm more in line with Nico here. This movie is okay. But it has so many issues for me. The pacing is weird and off because of the two timelines. And that really takes me out of the river timeline, takes me out of what's going on with what I think is our main plot here. And I felt like this movie would do much better just going in one direction. But anyway, look, the cast is fun. I think it looks really good. I have a few problems that I just think maybe they're specific to me. I don't know. I don't like the monster being invisible. I think that kind of the fact that we never really see except for the drawings, which they don't explore at all. That's the only time we really get a glimpse of what other people are seeing. I don't like that. And to me, it's just a kind of a all over the place movie. Now, it's a fun watch. This cast does a good job. Sandra Bullock is great, and I do like her character arc as far as someone that never wanted kids to have her kind of go on this riverboat trip with two of them. I think it's a really interesting character arc. And the rest of the supporting cast I think is good. But it doesn't do anything new, I don't think. It doesn't do anything particularly creative or inventive. It just kind of seems like a paint-by-numbers horror movie to me. And its biggest problem is that it's too damn long. There's no reason this movie should be 2 hours and 5 minutes. None. This story can be told if you cut it by about 30, 40 minutes. But again, this is probably like my fourth time seeing it. If I ever watch it again, it'll be, I don't really know why. Maybe I'll be showing someone that's never seen it. But I think this is probably my last time watching it. And again, I'm kind of crapping on it here in the open. But I do have some positives to say. This story is done to me. And I know it's not fair, like Brian said, to compare the two, but I'd flip on A Quiet Place a million times before I'd put this movie back on. I know they're not the same movie, but the premise is loosely the same, and I think I would rather watch A Quiet Place more. So yeah, I'm glad you picked it though, because we had to cover it at some point. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any more opening thoughts before we just jump into the scene by scene? I'm just gonna ask the audience and my co-host to bear with me. Did have to write a decent amount, so if you get tired of me reading, I completely understand, but let's get into it. The film starts with scenic shot of a river, mountains, trees, and a man on the radio asking where they are, and they have a commune. Title card. We see Mallory now telling her children they are taking a trip, and she tells them the rules. Under no circumstance, you do not take off your blindfold. We have all we need, and you do not talk. If you look, you will die. Do you understand? Mallory puts her birds in a box and she gets the kids and she follows a string down to the riverside counting her steps. She finds a John boat and puts it in and some paddles in the water. She and her kids begin the trek downstream. 5 years earlier, and we see Mallory painting, her sister Jessica enters the room with groceries and she turns her music off. Jessica says this thing seems serious. Mallory turns the news on as the reporter tells mass suicide across the world. Not pathological or a virus. Jessica offers to drive her to her OB appointment as she looks at Mallory's painting. Jessica says she needs to get out the house and amongst other people. We're at the doctor's office now. Dr. Lapham, I think's her name, does scans of her belly. The two sisters joke about their parents, and the doctor says no wine to Mallory. Doctor tells her she can't just ignore the pregnancy. Adoption is an option as well. Mallory is puking in the restroom, and Jessica heads to the car. Mallory follows behind, and we see the orange tracksuit lady banging her head against the glass over and over as she stares at Mallory. Mallory runs to the car, and she tells Jessica the craziness from Russia is here now. Chaos now as we see police lights and cars crashing. The sisters are panicking, and Jessica asks, "What the fuck is that?" as her eyes change, and she drives her car into another, flipping them over. Mallory crawls out the car, and so does Jessica, who walks in front of a dump truck committing suicide. Rest in peace to Sarah Paulson. Wish she would have been in the movie longer. Mallory runs amok all the chaos around her. Mallory falls over, and Lydia runs to help her, but is distracted when she hears a voice that sounds like her mom. Lydia gets into an ablaze car that explodes, killing her. Tom runs to Mallory, and they bang on the door, begging to be let inside. Greg lets him inside, and Doug says, "She went to help you, and now she's gone." Greg asks if everyone is okay, and the Wi-Fi is out now. Cell phones aren't working anymore. The group begins to talk, and Cheryl remains hopeful, as Doug says no one is coming. We are fucked. Tom now tells his crew he saw one. He tells of his co-workers killing himself. The others begin to realize or theorize what's going on. Tom has everyone close all the windows. Jason and Samantha get a call from their children, and they run to find them. The president announces that he closes the borders, and the TV signal goes out. Charlie now begins to tell them his religious take on it. Charlie says he got all this info from the internet. Tom follows Mallory and asks if she's in any pain. Tom thinks she may have a concussion. Mallory tells him they were just driving and Jessica saw something and she got this look on her face. Later that night, Mallory is in bed and we see things moving outside her window and voices talking. 6 hours on the river, and we see her tucking the children in and covering them up with a blanket. Mallory looks at the birds, then she uses her radio to try and get the attention of anyone, but she just gets static. She hears voices and the birds begin to chirp loudly. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Yeah, so I've said it before. I'm usually not a big fan of, quote, Tarantinoing it, like showing the ending first and then kind of flashing back. But I will disagree with Mike and Nico here. The way that this movie does it with the swapping back and forth between the two timelines, like you mentioned throughout, I thought it was really well done. Like, it kept my interest anyway. And I touched on it in my open. And we all, I think pretty much agree Sandra Bullock is amazing and, has had this career for as long as she had because she is. But like Nico, I'd also like to give a little bit of props here to Sarah Paulson. I've always liked her. I thought we'd done a movie with her in it before, but I guess not. But fun fact, apparently because of them working together on Ocean's 8, by the way, great franchise, in my opinion. But Bullock personally asked Paulson to play her sister in this. So that's probably why they got her with such big star power there. And I think she's perfect. Like their exchange in the art studio, the hospital, just all throughout the start here, it seems so natural. They really feel like sisters, and it allows me to kind of instantly love Paulson, who obviously doesn't make it here, but plenty of development for me to care that she died. I mean, obviously Nico too. But, back to Bullock, Mallory, I think, has a fantastic character arc. I love that you get to see her growth. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily, I don't know, growth's not maybe the right word. I wouldn't even necessarily say for the better, but her change, like her adapting. And I think it's wonderfully done. Like the choice to have her pregnant too, I thought was brilliant because having gone through 2 full-term pregnancies with my wife and 4 total, I could not think of a worse thing to be during the catastrophic emergency like this than pregnant. I'd also like to kind of touch on the cinematography here. We get Salvatore Totino as the director of photography. He's done a ton of movies, including Spider-Man Homecoming, which I think is shot in a lot of the same vein as this was, where it's like not quite shaky cam, but the camera does have a little subtle movement to it throughout. I don't know if that's his choice or Suzanne Bier's choice as the director, but either way, I had no complaints regarding the camera work throughout. I love the shot choices. And lastly, I saw John Malkovich. I thought, holy shit, this movie has some star power. And then like lesser known Lydia, his wife, played by Rebecca Pidgeon, played with Malkovich and company in 2010's Red, another movie I loved. But, instant recognizability, I guess is how you say that word, recognizability. For me anyway, for the people that just almost, like I said before, it gives you a certain predetermined feeling, based on these previous roles that they've been in. You're almost instantly seeing them. I mean, the last one did that for me. I'll say, and I'll shut up, BD Wong. first time he mentioned that he had an idea, talking about the security cameras thing, I thought, oh, an idea? Is it to genetically create a dinosaur in a lab? Or is this, what happens after he leaves the unit on Law and Order SVU? I don't know. But all in all, love this opening. This is right up my alley immediately.
Yeah, I will say this is one of my favorite set of scenes in the movie because it does set up a story that I'm interested in. Now, the open on the river, I would have been fine with this had we not gone back to it until the end. Like maybe kind of show some of the end and then work our way back there as the movie goes along. But I mean, this is pretty tense. I like it, and the first time I ever saw it, I was like, "What are we getting here? Like, what is this?" Everyone's got blindfolds on and all this stuff, and so I like this open, and I love the shots they get here on the river. It looks really cool. I really do like this open as well. I love Sarah Paulson and almost everything she's in. I don't know if anyone could have played Marcia Clark besides her, quite frankly, in the People versus O.J. Simpson. She was great in that, and she's great in a little bit that she's in that movie here. I love the banter and the chemistry between these two as sisters, and you can just tell it feels real. It feels natural. And I love that we don't get a monster yet, but something crazy is happening all around the world, and now it's finally here. But by the way, I love this doctor name. The name is slipping me, but I love like her humor here. She's like somebody real, It's not just like a movie character, and I like that as well. Man, this scene when she's driving is really tense. I love the effects of her eyes. I love it. I think it's good. And now that hooked me right away. Like, all right, what the hell is this? So I will say that they did a great job. And like you said, Malkovich, I love his character. Like he's so hateable or likable depending on the mood you're in. Because he ends up being maybe the smartest guy in the room, but he's such a dick about it that it's kind of hard to be on his side that much. But yeah, that's all I had. Really, really liked this opening set of scenes. I don't think they quite follow it up that well, but yes.
Yeah, so it's a very intense open with Mallory instructing the kids in such an authoritarian way. It does a good job to let you know how serious and severe the situation is. I've always thought it was odd to just call the kids boy and girl. Like I get it, but still, just watching it back, it's like, man, that's weird. Like I don't know that anyone would do that in real life. But man, you said it. Talk about the cast. First of all, Sandra Bullock and Sarah Paulson. I love them being as sisters. I love both of them individually, and so great casting there. I think they do a good job with the backstory, showing us their dynamic and what's going on with their lives and what's going on with the world. And then they do a great job of showing the world going crazy and falling apart. I really like how that was done. Now, something that's baffling is when they're in the car and they're leaving the hospital and they're trying to get out. How did Jessica see it and go crazy, but Mallory didn't? Like she was looking around as well, and she looked forward. Like she looked out the windshield, and she didn't see anything. So like that kind of makes me question what's the logic in how these things affect the people, and that's never explored the rest of the movie. So that's disappointing.
Yeah, I think they tried to explain that away, like that she turned away at just the split instant that she happened to see it, and so I just thought that was I thought that was too convenient. I agree.
Yeah, too convenient because okay, she turned away, but even then, after the car flips and she gets out, she's still running around, looking around in all different directions. Yeah, she didn't see nothing, so that was kind of convenient loophole. Pretty gnarly death there with Jessica stepping in front of the garbage truck, though. I thought that was pretty well done, like that. And then just another huge leap in logic, though. This movie does a lot of that. How did Tom know to keep your eyes down? Like when he runs up to her, she's laying in the screen, so keep your eyes down, you'll be fine. How do you know that? This shit is literally just happening in real time, and you already figured that out?
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. But man, just more great cast. Trevante Rhodes, who plays Tom, he's in a movie that I consider a complete 10 out of 10 called Moonlight. Check that out if you haven't seen it.
Oh, great film.
John Malkovich, B.D. Wong, MGK was limited here, didn't have many lines and everything, but if you've seen that movie, The Dirt, about Motley Crue, he did a fantastic job in that movie. So he's actually pretty talented as far as acting goes as well. He's just a certified weirdo. And then Lil Rel Howery is great in literally everything he's in. So he does a great job of providing a comedic touch without going overboard. Like, I love that guy. Just elite casting as far as this movie goes. But this opening set of scenes is very tense, but I feel like everyone is just coming to conclusions way too fast. Like, they're inside the house and they're just boom, boom, boom. Let's throw shit at a wall and see if it sticks. Well, everything they're throwing is sticking. It's not really believable as far as trial and error goes. Go ahead.
No. All I was going to add was Sarah Paulson's death is brutal to watch once you get emotionally invested in those two as sisters. Like, to see Sandra Bullock's reaction to her, I had it in my notes, I had a distraction, so I apologize. But I meant to at least mention it. That is a tough thing to watch, just jumping in front of a garbage truck, which 4 minutes earlier she was being a great supportive sister, and now, bam, this thing flips. So I like that. But I just wanted to point out that I thought that was well done. It wasn't too gruesome to the point where, it was gratuitous or anything. It was probably a really good way to do it.
Yeah. But, overall, though, as far as this opening set of scenes, I like how the time jumps are done. But I agree. I agree with both sides. Like, I like it. I like how we got two timelines, and it's like we got two simultaneous storylines that are equally compelling. But at the same time, I kind of wish they hadn't done that because it spoiled. Like, we know she's going to survive, and we know that, at least we can make a safe assumption that the baby is going to survive. And then when we meet dumbass Olympia, her baby's going to survive. So I kind of wish they hadn't done that because it spoils it to a certain extent. But it's really well done, so I can't bitch about it too much.
I can't believe I forgot my Asian brother BD Wong when I was talking earlier. But all right, shout out to him. Love Law and Order SVU. Back to the house, and we hear the radio saying, "Stay indoors, and if you don't look at those things, you'll be fine." Knock at the door, and Doug says, "We can't let anyone in." It's a woman named Olympia begging for help. Mallory grabs a shotgun and aims it at the door. Tom tells Olympia to take this blanket and block the view behind her. Tom opens the door, and Olympia enters. Charlie asks her if she's pregnant. Felix asks if it's still crazy out there. She said she was starving and began knocking on doors. Greg says maybe we're not trapped. He shows them his cameras with live feed. It shows images that are not direct, just shows pixels and heat. Doug says he thinks it's a huge mistake. They tie Greg to the chair, and he watches the feed. Back downstairs, and Doug continues to be a dick about the remodeling going on, and Felix walks in on Lydia exercising. She tells him not a chance. Doug takes a drink of liquor as Olympia takes her pills. Mallory finds Charlie's drafts of the story he's writing. Greg continues watching the feed, and his eyes change. We hear thudding noise from above, and the others run in his room, and he falls over, cracking his skull. Doug stomps out the monitor. Mallory cries, and Tom tells her, "We gotta go." Lydia begins to cry, "No one is coming for us." Mallory lies down, and Olympia walks in, saying it might be good for us to be close so they're not lonely. She asks her if she's thought about names yet. Mallory says she has no husband and asks to be excused for a second. Mallory goes to the table, and she hears whispering. She walks through the house and walks in on Felix and Lucy having sex. Tom joins her, and she asks if she's okay. They share a smile. 14 hours on the river, and she hears a man yelling hello if they need help. He says he has food and they can take their blindfolds off. She pulls her gun out as the boat drifts. She aims blindly as he continues to try talking to her to bring her to shore. The man grabs her gun and they squabble. She hits him with a paddle and begins to kick. He says he's seen one. Take your blindfold off. She grabs a machete and hacks his arm and hacks his neck. He lets go. It shall cleanse the world, he says, as he sinks into the water. Tom says they are running out of food, and Charlie says he knows somewhere they may have supplies. The Fields Market. He locked it up when things started going crazy. People begin to volunteer to make a run, and Tom tells Charlie he is going, but he refuses until Mallory tells him it'll be research for his book. They black out the windows, and they use GPS to get there. They begin the drive as they hit curbs and run over dead bodies in the road. Proximity alert goes off in all directions. Charlie panics as the creature surrounds the vehicle, and Tom stomps the gas and turns into the store parking lot. They exit the vehicle and cautiously make their way into the store. Lucy yells out hello, and they remove their blindfolds. They're so relieved when they see the abundance of goods. Doug's first stop is the alcohol. Tom gives Mallory some diapers as a baby shower gift. The two chat about his sister as they load their carts up. She tells him of where she was born in their childhood. Tom wishes they could have met under better circumstances. Mallory hears some birds in the store, and she asks how they got so lucky. Doug says over the intercom for everyone to come to aisle 7 as he proposes a toast. He says he says we could just stay here. We have a year's supply of food and drink. Better them than us starving. Mallory says we're not assholes. We're not staying. We hear a banging on a door. Tom says to cover your eyes. I'm going to open it. Charlie calls him Fishfinger. He's an employee here. He's a bit crazy as the birds begin to panic. Fishfinger begins to push the door open, obviously crazy, and they fight him off until Charlie runs and tackles him into the room and they lock the door. Charlie's blood pours under the door. The others walk away as he continues to be let in. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Yeah, well, I actually have the most on this group of scenes, so bear with me a little bit here. So, kind of what I said back at the start, we've established that as long as you don't look at these things, they can't hurt you, right? So, which, honestly, can you imagine? This would be like a 5-minute movie if they could physically also hurt you. Plus you couldn't look at them, like it'd be ballgame all the way around. But again, like, why can't you just look down out of your blindfold? Do these things just like ooze through the cracks or something? And why can't these things go inside a building? I wish I knew more about that, because this seems like huge fucking plot holes to me.
Mm-hmm.
Plus it would explain so much, like being able to fucking drive, which is just, look, it's lunacy. It's lunacy to think that you could drive a car with the fucking GPS that doesn't tell you about literally everything in the road. You couldn't do it. You could not do it. It just doesn't make any logical sense. I hated that part of this set of scenes so much. And I didn't understand when Tom is about to let Olympia in, why does he insist that she put a blanket up? Like, so they don't see the monster, right? Why couldn't he just stay behind the fucking door and open it and let her in? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
really,
wrote that too.
I guess I don't get that whole exchange there. And I also jumped the gun a little bit earlier talking about Dr. Wu's idea to, look through the security cameras. Look, this is a good ass idea. I would have definitely thought that this shit would work. And honestly, it's kind of dumb that it doesn't work. I'm going to be honest with you. But this is Douglas's house, right? Am I right? Is this Douglas's house?
No,
Yes.
it was Wong's house.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I could have swore he said it was his house or something, and then because I guess I assumed since they weren't friends and him and his wife were coming out of the house earlier. I don't know, but
it was Greg's house, because he said that he's mad at Greg and his husband because they're architects and they're wanting to tear down part of the house and build a glass monstrosity.
Gotcha. Okay. That's one of my complaints was, like, I was wondering why Wong walked around here acting like it was his damn house when it wasn't. But okay, there you go. That makes a lot more sense. And my biggest thing is, why do these things sometimes drive people crazy and sometimes not? Like, I guess we'll get here later, but here with friend of the show, Happy Anderson, shout out for the intro he did, by the way. But I hate that whole subplot about that in this movie. Like, I didn't like the creative choice of some people going crazy when they look at them, and some people turning into, like, they're okay to see it, but now they're a cult follower or something. I hate it.
Really big problem with that.
Yeah, in real life there would be crazy religious fanatics, but just don't have them infected. It gives way too many questions, doesn't make any sense because you don't fucking answer them. And I know I'm jumping around here, but when he was looking at those security cameras, I honestly thought we were going to get to see the creature, so I was ready. But that's the other thing. I'm glad that we didn't get to see the creature at all. Like, apparently we were going to, and Bullock couldn't quit laughing at it because it looked so ridiculous, so they nixed it. Thank God, because to me, I think that would ruin the whole thing if you saw the aliens. I like that we didn't see them personally. Shout out to Rosa Salazar that plays Lucy. I honestly think her and Machine Gun Kelly's roles were dumb and wasted. Like, I think they reminded me a lot of the couple in 03 Dawn of the Dead, but they had way less character development or even importance to the whole thing at all. Their relationship to me felt forced. The first time I watched it, I thought they, like, came into the house already together. But then when I watched it again and realized that they, like, formed the relationship there, it's just the whole thing I didn't like. But fun fact though, Rosa was in Maze Runner, which explains the joke about this being real life and not I don't remember how they put it, not running around like kids in a maze or whatever, but that was a little Easter egg for her being a maze runner. But more importantly, she was Captain Lynn Lucario in Star Trek. Last thing I'm going to say, this I would go out on a limb and say was my least favorite set of scenes in the whole thing, probably. Even with all the action, just I have most of the logical problems with the movie here in this set of scenes. And sorry, there's just a lot of touch on there. Like, I'll let y'all talk on Charlie's death, and if not, then we'll swing back around.
No, I have a lot of issues with this set of scenes. You touched on them. You touched on them at the top of yours. First of all, letting Olympia in the house, that's fine. But this whole exchange, which you touched on, just having her go through this whole process with the blanket and everything, it doesn't really make any sense. Like, so much simpler way to do it. Now, I will say I do like this tension and this continual confrontation between Bullock and Malkovich's character. Like, I like this back and forth that they have. So I like that as far as like a not like good versus bad. I just think they're coming at the situation from two different places, and I like that yin and yang that we get there. I like the inclusion of Olympia. I will say I don't like the creative choice for whatever reason to have two pregnant women in the house, and I'll get to that when we get to the scene where they both have their children. But like for whatever reason, it just kind of felt like why. Like I think like one was probably enough to get the point across. Like, okay, fine. But again, if that's I haven't read the novel, so if that's in the novel, then that goes to the source material. But anyway, I do like her character though. She's like super opposite of Bullock's character, of Mallory, but they both have this one thing in common. All right, let's talk about driving to the store. This shit is stupid, man. Not a snowball's chance in hell. With blacked out windows and a blacked out windshield, even with your, thing on where you're about to hit something, would this have worked? I don't care. With all the dead bodies in the street and all the debris on the ground and all the stuff that's laying out everywhere, there's no way, just by GPS alone, you're getting to the store. I don't care what anybody says. So that didn't work for me. That was a huge leap in logic. And I do feel like this movie at least attempts throughout to try to use some grounded ways to explain what would normally be a leap in logic. It doesn't do that here. If that's the best they got, I'm not buying. I hated it. Golly, it bugged me. Now, once we're in the store, I like that we get some character depth here. The scene before they leave, though, with Charlie in the car shows that he's, he's more than just the funny man. He's kind of legitimately terrified for his life. So I like that. And I knew as soon as there was a guy back there on the loading dock, that wasn't going to end well. I hate that we get the death of Charlie because I would have liked to have seen him more. Like Dustin mentioned, he added comedic relief in scenes of tension, and I like when you get a movie that does that. But yeah, look, this set of scenes just had a lot of head scratching moments to me. Like I don't know why they took some of the creative directions they took. And like I said, if it's the novel that they're getting some of that from, I think I'm good on the novel. I think I'm good on opening it up. But yeah, I mean, this is probably my favorite set of scenes is probably followed up by my least favorite set of scenes.
Yeah, I agree. The first thing I put was, why would he need to block the view with a blanket just for opening the damn door? Like, you don't have to look outside. So there's strike one. Strike two, when she's showing off that she does know how to handle a gun and she ejects the shotgun shells. If you listen, that's the sound of empty shell casings hitting the floor. You can tell by the sound, so she couldn't have shot anyone if she wanted to. So there's strike two. More leaps in logic here. I'm glad this one didn't work out with Greg, honestly. It would have been too unlikely if every guess was right. Like, I agree, Brian. I would have thought that it would have worked, but I kind of like that it didn't, because it's like everything there, hey, you don't look up and you're fine. And you know that within a couple hours, get the fuck out of my face. And then, yeah, MGK ain't slick. You know that he finessed that shit. He's like, listen, baby, really, if this is our last night on Earth, wouldn't you like me to have you ass up on the washing machine? I get it, man. I'd have been doing the same thing. But Then you get introduced to Olympia, who is the worst character. I'm saying she's top 5 worst character in any movie we've ever covered. I hate her. Hate.
Man, that, whew, okay.
Yeah, I stand by it. I'd rather have what's his name from that Friday movie that we hate, Shelley. I'd rather have Shelley than Olympia. But
well, anybody's better than Tina from Halloween 5, pal. That's all.
I'd rather have
that's
Tina.
all.
Shout out to
Absolutely fucking not. That's a sin you just said.
You just
Now,
made him really mad.
On the flip side of how much I hate Olympia, man, I love Charlie. Lil Rel Howery, he's just great in everything, and his humor, his comedic touches is so perfect because he's not a over the top caricature kind of character. He's just genuine and he's just witty. I love it. It's the same with Get Out. Now GPS won't tell you if there's a parked car in the middle of the road, buddy. So I agree. This shit would not have worked. You
So
cannot
stupid.
drive.
It's so bad.
Like that's
So fucking bad.
that's okay. That's a stretch. But I did love. Oh, and then like when he's running over people, it's like, oh, it's a curb, it's a speed bump. I love that. Like it reminded me of like when you're riding with a girl and you're kind of scrolling your phone and she hits a curb. She's like, oops. Like, that's what it reminded me of. It's just like, oops. But I did love when they get to the store, the GPS goes, you have arrived. Like I don't know why that shit made me laugh because that was a hell of a journey and you have arrived. But another kind of thing that's convenient for movie's sake. I don't know about you guys, but I've never in my life been in a store that has blinds or shades that can cover all the windows. Like if you think about a grocery store or convenience store that has those. I don't know.
Never noticed. You're right.
That's weird.
Never noticed.
And then I did laugh when Tom and Mallory were in the aisle there, and he's kind of talking to her, hitting on her a little bit. He's got that look in his eye, like, well, she can't get any more pregnant. So I see what you're doing there, Tom. I like it. And then
Jesus Christ.
my guy Doug was over here. Like, how long they been in the store? Realistically, like 5 minutes. My man got shit hammered in 5 minutes.
Yes,
like,
yes.
He's barely coherent when they walk around the corner. So
Well, let's be fair. The man lost his wife in this whole thing, okay?
And I don't
he's
make him
stuck
get
with
drunk
it.
faster.
there's no
Now
way
he's stuck
that.
in a house full of people he hates.
No, that's fine. I'm saying there's no way the alcohol got in his system that quickly.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
saying like he was probably
Maybe.
back there pounding them, but
I say, buddy, maybe he was fucked up before he went.
well, they did show him in take a little airplane bottle before they left, but still, he went from
That's fair.
completely normal to incoherent in zero flat. That was insane. And then Doug had a gun when they were fighting with fish fingers, and we still lost Charlie. Like that's not a fight. You're like 5-6 people deep, and one of you has a gun. Fish fingers was outmatched. Why? That's stupid. Just shoot him. Just shoot him. Be done with it. There's no need for anyone to. Number one, there's no need for anyone to struggle, let alone lose a life. Yeah. But you're struggling trying to hold the door. No, just shoot him in the fucking face. But it's not a bad set of scenes. But it's just there's things that frustrated me in it, or frustrated me with this set of scenes.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dustin. But I mean, even at the worst case scenario, why didn't Charlie just like run and do like a double kick into the freezer of the dude? Like just kick him back in there. Like, why did he have to sacrifice himself? I thought that was just completely
unnecessary.
It didn't make any sense. Way too many options, like you said.
We can't afford your salary anymore, Lil Rel. Just go ahead and push him all the way, and you go in there too.
Right,
that had to be what it was. Like if you and I'm glad you said that because I was going to touch on that later. But if you think about Sarah Paulson, in and out of this movie, Lil Rel Howery, in and out of this movie, John Malkovich was in the movie for a good portion of it, but still, even him was kind of in and out as far as the scenes he was in. MGK, in and out of this movie. So it's like all B.D. Wong. Early death. So it's like all the big names other than Sandra Bullock, they had very limited screen time. It had to be a budgetary constraint.
Yeah.
Had to be. Or they just didn't want a big role or something. I don't know. All right. We're back in the car driving home and there's no talking. Lacey hugs Felix and Olympia is amazed at all the supplies. Cheryl asks, where's Charlie? And Doug, like a dick, says, another novel we don't have to read. Mallory snaps saying he saved us. Doug talks to Mallory about his previous failed marriages. He says third time was a charm with Lydia. Mallory says he sounds like his father. He says he's never wrong. Mallory cracks a bald joke as he pours another drink for he and her. Felix and Lacey sneak out and take the car, bringing alert to everyone else. They realize now who took the car. 24 hours on the river and Mallory takes a break from rowing. Girl asks, how much longer? The boat bumps into a semi-truck in the river as the boy falls into the water. Mallory pulls him back in the boat, and she realizes the bag with the food and blankets fell out. She hears a noise and paddles to the bank. She has them lay down on the boat and covers them up. She follows the sound into the woods. Mallory makes it to a house in the woods and goes inside. She removes her blindfold and sees no one there, and the place has been ransacked. She finds some canned goods and warm clothes. She hears a metal clanging noise as the bed she tied her string to falls over. She walks toward the string and grabs it and puts her blindfold back on. She follows the string and takes off running. She trips and hears her name being called. The kids hear gunshots as the girl exits the boat. Something's wrong with Mommy. The girl is pulled by the rope as Mallory picks her up and carries her back to the boat. She scolds her, saying, "Don't worry about me. Always save yourself." She begins paddling again, and we're back to the house. The end of the world makes us do things, she tells Tom. He tells a story of when he was deployed in Iraq. Mallory puts his hand on her pregnant belly, and they embrace. 28 hours on the river, and Mallory tries the radio again to no success. Mallory hears Olympia talking, and she lets a man inside. They check his bag and ask who he is. Doug calls her a simpleton for letting a stranger inside. Gary tells his story and asks to stay here. He says psychos broke into his place. He got away and ran until he got here. He cries, thanking them. He says these crazy guys didn't need blindfolds. Everyone needed to see. Doug takes a gun and tells him to fuck off. He tells him we're not bringing any more strangers in, and Cheryl breaks a glass vase over his head. Tom puts Doug in the garage. Olympia says she feels like a bird, and she's soft and spoiled. She tells Mallory, if anything happens to me, please take care of my baby. Promise me. Mallory gives Olympia a cat plushie that warms her heart. We see Girl with it in hand. 38 hours on the river. The river is speeding up. Time for a meeting. She tells him about the rapids. It gets loud, bumpy, and very dangerous. One of them will have an important job. One of you will have to look so I steer the right way. The girl asks what happens if we see anything, and the boy volunteers, but Mallory says, I pick who looks. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Best line of the entire movie to me is when the old woman Cheryl says, "Where's Charlie?" And my guy goes, "That's another novel I won't have to read." Like I died laughing. I thought that was great. And I thought it was brilliant writing to follow that up with that late night conversation with Malkovich and Bullock. I mean, it was funny. It was charming. It made me like the character of Douglas even more. But man, just Malkovich and Bullock on the screen together going back and forth was just so damn good to me. You know, we get Machine Gun Kelly and Lucy leaving. Never get to see them again. Makes absolutely no sense at all. Probably exactly what Dustin said. They were like, hey, we don't know what to do with you guys. You guys just fucking leave. That's it. Okay, cool. It's definitely a choice. Also, you know, we're 24 hours into the river. And again, you know, I've just got to ask the question. Like, if you have the birds in the box that signal you when those things are near, why can't you just look? And then, like, look down when the birds start going crazy? Like, otherwise, what's the fucking point of having the birds? I mean, I don't know. Also, you know, are we using the bathroom over the side here? What's happening? We aren't eating, you know, it appears. I don't know how much water they brought, but this is going on a little bit too long for my brain to just take this as, like, logical with all of these obstacles. Not even talking about the unbelievable shit that happens later. Just some questions I had. Shout out to Vivian Edwards playing the girl and Julian Edwards playing the boy. I mean, they didn't have a ton to do, but I thought they were cute as hell. You know, like, they weren't annoying-ass little kids that you rooted against anyway. I mean, I didn't anyway. These other monsters I work with here on this podcast, I don't know.
Well, they might annoying-ass little kids. They weren't allowed to talk. She threatened them with bodily harm if they made a noise.
Probably more budgetary constraints. But here, you know, boy falls out, and they lose the blankets and food. Like, okay, this water is freezing. And yeah, this isn't later when it gets worse, but they just act like it isn't a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal to be that cold, ladies and gentlemen, outside. And also, you aren't walking up stairs and hills and everything else so easily, not being able to see, by the way, like she does. But okay, here we are. She also has a gun. Again, not sure, you know, how. I thought that fell in the water earlier when she was tangling with friend of the show, Abby Anderson, on that water. I don't know. Maybe I missed that. Maybe it fell back into the boat, but it looked to me like it fell in the water. I don't know. I mean, I get wanting to add a little tense action scene here, but with over 2.5 hour run or 2 hour runtime, I saw nothing here in this little group that progressed the story at all. Like, except that she did manage to get a blanket from going up to the old hospital thing. I don't even remember. But to me, all of this could have been cut, in my opinion. I don't like this whole Gary thing either, only because I don't like the idea of some of these fucking people getting infected and others not. So I don't know. I mean, I know I said that I like this movie. I really do, but it sure does seem like I have a lot of fucking issues with it, don't I? I don't know. I don't know. This is a really hard movie that I'm finding to explain why I like it, and it kept my interest, but I'm finding that out as we go along. Go ahead.
Man, we all have those movies, though. Like I feel that way about 1981 Halloween too. Like I can't tell you why I like it, but I sure do. I have a lot of problems with it, but I can watch it every October and get enjoyment out of it. So kind of the same deal for me there. Yeah. So how we start this set of scenes, I really like. I love this. You know, you mentioned it, the conversation here between Bullock and Malkovich's characters. Like it shows a little. It just shows a little bit of a different side of him, and such a great job going back and forth. There's laughs. There's some serious moments where you get to kind of glimpse inside who both of these people really are at their core. She he reminds her of her father. You know, of her father, and I think that's also interesting. This whole the whole he's an asshole theme kind of seems to be uh, going throughout the whole movie. Now, all that being said, the rest of this set of scenes, to quote the great Destin Franklin, it's kind of a two-pack of ass, to be quite honest with you. It loses my interest very quickly. And I know I've kind of complained about this river timeline before, and if you like it, that's great, but it loses me, especially when we get some unrealistic stuff here. And you meant, why is she going up to this old hospital? Like, I don't think it really accomplished anything except to add some tension-filled scenes, which we've all complained about the runtime of the film. And I feel like this is, 17, 18 minutes of it or so that we get all this, where he's cold and she gets the blanket. Look, I get that it's trying to show that she's willing to do anything to keep these two kids safe. I understand that. But I feel like there's a shorter way to convey that than this whole thing right here. It does. It just doesn't do anything for me. And I literally wrote, well, where did the gun come from? Right here. I I don't understand that either. I just do not really think this set of scenes needs to even be in here outside of the conversation that we get at the beginning of them. So I feel like this movie, or this part of the movie, kind of wastes my time. I was maybe a little mean on the two pack of ass, but when you're watching it, and I kind of like have to pick up my phone and like scroll Twitter or something while I'm watching your film, that's not good because I'm trying to take notes and do a podcast about it. And so when I had kind of lost in the sauce instead of watching your movie, I don't think that's a good thing. So if I could have one big critique of this set, I would say it's kind of boring, question mark. So yeah.
Yeah, this set of scenes is just kind of slow, all things considered. I mean, yeah, the guy almost got him, and the boy fell in the water, but it's just a lot of dramatic building and not much to take notes on. So, blindly firing the gun, that's stupid. You have a limited amount of ammo, and you're just wasting it there. So, huge problem with that. And then, man, Olympia, she'd have to go. I would have shot her and shot the guy. Fuck that, man. I've just never been as frustrated with an overly bubbly, ditzy, dumbass character as I was Olympia. But, this set of scenes, like I said, it's just not much to take notes on, but more good atmosphere, more good building to where we're going. But there was some bad dialogue in it. Like, there's a few lines just like, oh, God, that was pretty bad. But it wasn't terrible overall. The runtime is way too long in this movie, for over 2 hours. A lot of this portion could have been cut.
Dustin, my only rebuttal, that just playing devil's advocate of her shooting into the air and wasting bullets, at that point, do they even know that it's not a figure, or do they know that it's not or hell, I don't know, do we even know that it's not something there? I don't know, if you sense something there, would maybe you'd okay, well, maybe I'm going to kill it. That was my only validation for that.
Well, that was a person coming after him in that instance.
I was talking about whenever she was like up at the hospital and then she's like laying on the ground just shooting. Is that what you were talking about, or is that different?
I'm talking about when she's shooting guy in the river there. She's just shooting at him. She hears him, and she's blindly shooting. So my thing is, like, still, it's a limited amount of ammo, and even if you're not trying to shoot the things out of the sky, because we don't know what they look like. They could be huge. They could be small, whatever. We don't know what they look like, but they do. They do, because they've talked about them on the news, and Gary, when Gary was in the house, like, he saw them clearly, and he talked about them, and he had drawings of them. But still, flip side from that, you've got the secondary villain, which is the bad people in the world. This guy's trying to get them. The people at the house that we're about to get into, which happened earlier in the movie, timeline wise. So you need to conserve your ammo. So I have a huge problem with wasting ammo at all.
They've obviously never played Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. They've played a lot of Grand Theft Auto where you can just put the cheat code in and respawn your ammo and everything.
All right, Mallory is testing on the radio to no success as Gary vibes to the radio. Olympia begins to go into labor and Cheryl takes her to another room. Suddenly, Mallory's water breaks as well. Mallory gets a bucket of water as Gary hands her the scissors. Tom tells her to come with me, the baby is coming. The two ladies are in bed side by side as Gary puts on a record of classical music. He sits down and looks at these creepy black and white drawings as the women scream in agony from childbirth. Mallory holds her son, and Gary puts the birds up in the freezer and begins to remove the shields on the windows. Doug tells Tom he's crazy. Gary knocks Tom out and opens the garage, revealing his crazy eyes. Olympia has her baby girl, and Gary walks into the room saying they look beautiful. Gary now lets the blinds up, saying, "Isn't it beautiful?" Olympia sees outside, and Mallory gets the baby from her, and Olympia runs out the window, falling to her death. Gary grabs Cheryl, forcing her eyes open, and she stabs herself in the neck with the scissors, killing herself. Gary calls out for Mallory's children, and Doug comes upstairs with a shotgun. Gary keeps dancing around the room, and Doug shoots the gun, grazing Gary. Gary tackles him through the stair railing, and they fall below. He kills Doug with 2 stabs to the chest with the scissors. "I'm sorry you didn't get to see." Tom wakes up, and the two men fight over the shotgun. Mallory hears 2 gunshots as the babies cry. "Please don't hurt us," she says, as Tom says it's okay. He consoles her and holds one of the babies. 5 years later, and we see Mallory teaching the kids some survival tactics. Mallory makes it to another house and gathers supplies. She hears cars pull up that are looking for trouble, but they drive away quickly. She's back to Tom and the kids. They look through the supplies, and she says the nightgown is purely survival. The two begin to kiss passionately and have sex now, assumingly. The two are in bed and are awakened by a radio signal. A man named Rick says they have a community with supplies. They are ways away, and Mallory keeps telling him not to tell the answers. He says to take the river, it's the fastest way. He says you will have to look. Rick says to follow the sound of the birds when you get past the rapids. Tom is gathering well water, and the two debate. She can't believe he's considering this. Tom tells the kids a story and tickles the girl. Mallory sends him to bed, and she confronts Tom about the story he told. They will never climb trees. They will not make friends. Tom says they deserve dreams. They deserve a mother. They don't even have names. She says every decision she's made has been for them. Tom climbs into bed with her and whispers to her about what he saw at the top of the tree. He wraps his arm around her. The four are outside and scoping out houses again for supplies. She hands him some stale Pop-Tarts, and she apologizes and kisses him. The kids play with toys as Tom hands them some Pop-Tart. We hear vehicles approach, and they go hide. Tom tells Mallory to take the kids out back, and I'll distract them. I love you so much. They ask him to take his blindfold off. Tom opens fire as they spot her and the kids. Tom takes his blindfold off and runs off and guns the other two men down. He grabs a pistol and hears voices, and he sees the creature. He kills the last person, and then he shoots himself. In the next set of scenes at the ending, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so one character thing I didn't really agree or care for that much is the way that Mallory dealt with Girl. Like, it was almost like she hated her because, I mean, I don't know if it was because she wasn't hers or I didn't really gauge why, and they didn't explain why.
Probably because she hated her mother as much as I do.
Well, I mean, everybody had every reason
That's
to
a
hate
tough
him.
one.
Maybe it was, but even in that regard, if he did, we're talking about 5 years later, right? So I don't understand the hostility. I mean, to me, it's not realistic. You'd bond with those kids after that long. I don't really buy that Mallory hasn't bonded with them yet. And, coming from a parent's perspective, and if you're telling me that if she is the way she is because of some leftover bad feelings for Olympia for letting Gary in the fucking house, I don't know. But again, I said it's been how many years later? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And speaking of not making sense, Gary, what? Like, how much time has passed, by the way, since he's been let in? Was it the same day he got there? Because he's in the same clothes, so I'm
It
assuming that
looked
it's the
like
same
the same
day.
day. The way I took it is that it was all the same day.
And is he infected, or looking at these drawings made him infected? What's happening
He did
here?
the drawings, did he not?
Well, I mean, he had the drawings already with him, and yeah, you're right. So
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know because like the ominous score popped up whenever he's looking at the
right.
drawings, so telling us that's definitely not a good thing. But I
And
don't
they
know.
didn't
Yet,
follow up on those drawings.
right, and the birds weren't
Never.
going crazy when he was around them. So I don't know. Did he just get infected after he put the fucking birds in the freezer and opened the window screens? I really don't know. It makes no fucking sense to me. But there are great kills here, though. I thought great little fight scene. All seemed fairly realistic. The old lady killing herself, and even Malkovich getting scissory chested, all looked really good. I will admit that I never knew that famous meme came from this scene. I always thought that it was from when I saw the meme. I always thought that, oh, that must be from like Clockwork Orange or something. So when I saw it, I was Leonardo DiCaprio memeing at the TV as well. There, I was like, oh shit. So that was a nice little revelation for me. Talking about the score though, Trent Reznor composed this. He's done stuff like Gone Girl, Social Network, Girl with Dragon Tattoo. But he actually, fun fact, told Variety in an interview that he felt scoring this movie was a waste of time because they, quote, mixed the music so low you couldn't hear it anyway. I mean, I don't know if I really agree with that. I know it's his work, but I did like the way the score was used throughout, so I don't really have a complaint there. And last thing I'll say is I did like the time jump with Mallory and Tom. That definitely reminded me a lot of The Quiet Place there. Her grabbing that nightie showed their relationship with some nice little quick insight. And it was done very quickly. And but again, the fucking cult people, they drive me crazy. I already said I hated that subplot, so I won't harp on it anymore here. But I did like that time jump forward there to kind of progress the story. Oh, and I did think it was funny that Tom put on pants after they supposedly had coitus to answer the walkie-talkie. I was just like, look, I was thankful he did. He's a good-looking guy, but I didn't want to see that. But I was also confused. I liked the rest of this, despite the complaints I've already voiced.
You know what she should have done, Brian?
Twist his dick.
Thank you. I was like, how long do I have to do the bop it? I said, how long do I have to do the bop it twist thing, man? What the fuck? Leave it in, pal. Leave it in. Okay, so yeah, okay. I don't like this. I've already mentioned this. I'm not going to harp on it, but I don't like that we've got two people pregnant in the house. I guess I feel like that story could have been accomplished with just Sandra Bullock's character. Now, look, I mean that's just like a creative preference. It's not like a big deal, but I almost felt like it was just a little overkill for me. But it did lead to some very intense stuff happening as far as like what's going to happen. Are these births going to go successfully? And then you have the whole Gary thing happening at the same time. So while I don't like those two stories, I don't really like the Gary stuff. I don't really like Olympia's role in this movie. I don't mind the character like Dustin does, but I don't really like what they give her to do. Those two things are going on at the same time, and it does make for good tension. Like it makes for good suspense. And Gary is a meme factory. I mean, he's half. He was like a quarter of the memes that came out of this movie, and we'll talk about the memes later in a user or a listener question. But so him opening the old woman's eyes is it became a meme, and it kind of like ruins it a little bit just because now I can't see anything but that. But I do like that the Olympia's jump out the window looks a little clunky. and that looks more realistic than just flying out the window like he's DJ Jazzy Jeff flying out the door in Fresh Prince. Like it's actually looks like someone falling out of a window. I like that. I like the old woman and hurt to death. Like I think that's a good death. But I'm with you, Brian. This Gary subplot is wacky to me because they never take any moment of time to explain why some people commit suicide and some people become infected like it's I Am Legend. Like I need an explanation for that, and we never get it. Not that I remember. Now maybe it's in the book and they left it out for time, which this movie was already long enough, so whatever. But I've always said if I have to read your book to get something that's in your movie, we have a problem here. You need to be able to explain these things. I don't always need my hand held, but that's a big part of the film is some people commit suicide or, death by suicide, and some people, end up infected. Makes no sense. My wife asked the same question when she watched it. She goes, well, how come these people aren't killing themselves? Makes total sense. Very logical question to ask. So I hate this cult stuff. I hate the Gary stuff because they don't do anything to explain that away.
And if he was already infected whenever he got there, wouldn't the birds have gone crazy?
Yeah, that's my point. I don't think he was infected when he got there. So I don't quite know how he got infected.
Maybe he was just obsessed with them and drawn with them and decided I'm going to fucking go look at them right now, and that's when he got infected.
He said that the people forced them to look. Like he admitted that he was forced to look.
That's right.
I missed that.
That's right. Sorry. You're right. You're absolutely
when he was
right.
cowering down and Douglas was ready to blast his fucking face off, he said they forced us to look.
He should have trusted his gut.
He should have shot the motherfucker.
Yes, Douglas should have trusted his gut. He's been an asshole the whole movie. Why change now?
Well, then it doesn't make any sense the birds didn't go crazy then.
Yeah. Nope. I agree. I like this character stuff that we get with Mallory and Tom here, man. Like they're clearly in love, but they also have this fight and they have this different outlook on making it out of there and like giving the kids hope and all that. I really like that scene. That's a good scene. And even this, as Brian coined it, coitus that we get. Like I said, I like that we get that and we get the yin and yang of the fact that they have a little bit of a fight here. And I hate this cult stuff right here. But Tom, man, my man Tom with the blindfold handles his own. Kills about 3 of them with one blast. Love to see that. But obviously he ends up, as we expected, once he gives her the necklace, he gets, he sees this thing and he dies by suicide. And that sucked, man. That's the one character death in the movie where I'm like, man, I did not want that to happen. I wanted all 4 of this little, put together family to make it down the river together. But obviously we know that Tom doesn't make it in the boat because they tell us in the very beginning. So this is a mixed bag set of scenes to me. Like there's some good here that kind of furthers the story, but some of the creative choices they took, I just wasn't a big fan of.
First of all, I want to start by saying I think I would rather go outside and look at the sky than be in the house with 2 women who are in labor. Fuck that. So,
well, we just lost 30 subscribers. Son of a bitch. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean that sounds miserable.
You're right.
Especially if none of those kids are mine, I don't want to be in that fucking house. But then they get Douglas out in the garage, and Gary opens the garage door by pushing the buttons from the inside. Is there not a garage door close button on the inside of that garage? Like most garages have a button inside the garage you can push to open and close the door. And if not, that's terrible design, which I'm not buying because we already established earlier that a fucking architect lives in that house. So, nope. God. Anyway. Again, all of this, every single bit of it is Olympia's fault. So, I'm very glad that she looked out the window and then jumped. Like, that just brought me so much joy. Best part of the movie. Now, when Tom is downstairs struggling with Gary, how did they go? First of all, when they were both laying in the floor there and the shotguns between them, they look like 2 wrestlers trying to climb the ladder, like moving sloth speed. The title is in their grasp, but they just can't move fast enough. But how did they go from moving sloth speed and Gary having his finger on the trigger and pointing it at Tom to We flash away and then hear 2 gunshots quickly, but it was Gary that got shot. Like, how did he go from moving that slow to getting possession of the gun, turning it, and shooting 2 times? That's a little illogical as well. And then when she's on the run and she's in the house looking for supplies, made me think of something. You ever squealed tires on gravel? Not possible. What the fuck is this movie doing, man? Anyway. And then, some years have passed here. How does he have a fresh haircut and waves? Like, who's lining him up? They both look a little too upkept.
Oh, nice point.
For a post-apocalyptic world. Like, that really bothered me. In this set of scenes when I noticed it. Like, we're apparently 5 years in the future. Is she cutting his hair? I ain't buying it. But
yeah, he needs to look like Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
God damn, that's rough.
But,
I mean, for being logical.
And also, it shows them with their little intimacy scene. They're fornicating, they're having a good time. That's a real smart idea. Bring another baby into the world when you can't even go outside. Fucking idiots. It's like The Walking Dead when they're just reproducing. Like, that's just not smart. But
they have protection, brother. Come on.
Pull-out game strong.
That's right.
Oh, I forget those exist, Mike. That's my bad. You're right. You're right. So then, they're in the house here, and the strangers show up outside, which one of them I immediately recognize as being from The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Couldn't tell you his name, but he's definitely in The Dark Knight. But very noble move by Tom here. But the whole situation was avoidable. And it pissed me off even more. Why wouldn't they have the advantage? They're in a house and they have a gun. Why wouldn't they just like, hey, you all hide over here. As they come in, I'm going to make a noise and draw them over to this side, and I'm just going to shoot them as they enter the room. Boom, pick them off one by one, problem solved. They've never played Call of Duty or any game like that. But it was so avoidable. Instead, hey, you guys go out the back door. I'm just going to go out front door blindfolded and fire blindly. Luckily, I killed a couple of them. And then, it was very noble by Tom to say, fuck it, I'm going to make sure that they get away. I'm going to protect them. But it was just so avoidable. Like, I like that. I don't know. It was an emotional moment. It was touching that he essentially sacrificed himself for Mallory and boy and girl. But it was just kind of stupid.
I can't lie. I kind of hate that 5-year time jump. I wish Mallory would just had the kid already. It's just hard to believe you can survive this kind of life for 5 years with 2 kids. And I don't know. It's just hard to buy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and they're not like hunting. They're like robbing houses, and that food's going bad eventually. So I don't know. I don't really like the 5-year time jump. All right. Here's the ending though. Diabetes. Wouldn't have something you die from no insulin. Mallory hugs the children and go back to the house. She begins to cry when she realizes what's happened. We're now hearing Mallory's speech to the kids about taking the trip and that Tom isn't coming. 42 hours on the river. She says it's time. She covers their heads and asks if they remember the rapids. They're very dangerous and someone has to look. Both of the kids volunteer and Mallory flashes back to Olympia in the cat plushie and when Tom gave her his pendant. She says nobody is looking. She has them get on their knees and down low. Hold on tight. They enter the rapids and she yells, hold on. The John boat flips over in the rapids and Mallory yells out for them. She hears the boy yelling for her. She gets to the boy and she follows the bell ringing sound to girl. They make it to the riverbank and Mallory says, we follow the sound of the birds. They hike through the woods now and Mallory hears her sister's voice whispering to her. She now hears Doug's voice and she trips over a stick and falls down a cliff. She's knocked out briefly and the kids call for her name. She wakes up and calls for the kids. The boy begins to hear Mallory's voice and he asks if he can take off his blindfold. She yells to listen to her and don't remove it. She now yells out to the girl to not remove her blindfold. Mallory yells, do not take my children. She finds Boy and he tells her girl is scared of her. She apologizes and tells the ending of Tom's story. He saw us together. We have to be together. I have so much I want to show you. We have to do it together. Please come to me as the girl makes it to the others. I love you so much, she tells the children. They continue to follow the bird noises until she hears Tom's voice yell for her. Just take a peek and find me. She takes off running with the kids as they follow the birds. The loud sounds overwhelm them and they stop. They hear the birds again and she runs. She trips again but gets back up with the kids. They make it to the community and bang on the door. She says her name and she has children. She begs for them to take her children. They ask to see their eyes and they say she's okay and to get Rick. Rick says to come with me. He says they're inside and safe. You can take your blindfolds off. They're at Janet Tucker's School for the Blind. They go outside and see all the children, and Rick says the birds warn the sighted people when something's around. He goes to get them some dry clothes. Mallory asks if they should let the birds go be with their friends. They free the birds, and Dr. Lapham walks up to Mallory. The kids introduce themselves as boy and girl. Mallory names the girl Olympia and the boy Tom. I am the mother. Doctor asks if they want to go play with the other kids. Doctor hugs Mallory as dry clothes are brought to her. She smiles and looks up at the birds, and the end credits roll. All right, Brian, what did you think about the ending?
I think it could have been done a lot better. Like, for instance, I agree with you guys that Tom should not have died in the last set of scenes. Like, have him here, have him be the one that has to look, that has to navigate them through and sacrifice himself to get them through the rapids. Because, come on, I have voiced my complaints. There is no way you are making it through those rapids, or even as far as they did, without looking. Like, I don't see why you couldn't have looked down the river at least some to help. Just some say that too. But, you know, when they went to the freezing cold water, like, honestly, my heart sank because I thought, oh man, there's no way that they survived this. And they shouldn't have. Like, they would have gotten either hypothermia or gotten killed on the rocks. Look, I've gone whitewater rafting down the Coy River in Atlanta. This is not realistic at all. But with that said, I did like how the rest of it played out. Again, I like Mallory's arc. Arcted. This is genius reviewing here, isn't it? But I was fine with the way that it ended. It was pretty cool that, like I said in A Quiet Place about being deaf, it's cool how they used what is a disability in the way that we live now and normally operate now to what is now a strength in the end times here, you know, with something like this. So I thought that was very well done. That's all I had.
Yeah, I just look at this point. I'm just kind of ready to get to where we're getting, and unfortunately, which I believe is Dustin's biggest complaint, we agree. This end falls so flat. You know, the first time I watched it, before I nitpicked it to death like I have on this show, I'm kind of enjoying the movie for what it is, and then we get to this ending, and I'm like, man. And by the way, I really, you know, one of the set of scenes earlier that I was kind of down on, but you know, she tells one of the kids they're going to have to look. I think that added a little bit of intrigue and a little bit of interest for me to see how that was going to be paid off, and then it's not paid off. Like I just, you know, and these kids, you know, they get, you know, she gets lost from the girl, and she has to kind of talk her back, and all that's a good, like, good emotional acting. It's not the performance. I just think it takes a little too long, but it is probably the best part of the ending here, where they're, you know, she's clearly has so much love for these two, and to see, like Brian mentioned, not the growth, but just her change in mindset from not ever wanting to be a mother to being a mother of these two. One's not even one that she gave birth to. So I really like that character development. Whether, again, it's not good or bad or whatever, it's just a different, kind of a completely different character than what she was earlier on. So I like that. Once we get to the school for the blind, and again, I think that's a good choice. But we have so much stuff that's not paid off when we get here. I mean, it's a happy ending, but all the, like, this whatever this is, entity or whatever the hell, we never see it. Which, if you like that, that's totally fine. I don't. I want to at least see what we have, like what we're going up against, and then, but we get those drawings of what I guess Gary saw, but we never follow up on that. We never. I mean, we just have a lot that we didn't follow up on, and to end it like this on such a happy note. My biggest positive takeaway is them letting the birds free. I thought that was kind of cool. And her seeing her doctor again, that's fine. But like, it feels like such a flat way to end a movie with a lot of suspense, a lot of tension throughout, but it just leaves a lot of unanswered questions. What is this thing? How are some infected and some die by suicide? How are all these things connected to this one thing? And it just, I don't know. I don't think it answered enough questions for me. A lot of open endedness, and like I'm sure Dustin will say, this ending just falls completely on its face.
Yep. So, first of all, I would definitely have girl look if I'm under that blanket. She's got her mother's DNA, which means she's probably stupid and bound to wind up getting us into some deep shit later on. So, yeah, girl, you're looking.
So fucked up.
Sorry. But yeah, I agree, Brian. Like, it's not believable that they would survive that, because number one, how the fuck are these 5-year-old kids supposed to know how to swim if they've been locked in a house their whole lives? Like, if nothing else, no matter how cold the water is, they can swim? Nah, I ain't buying that. Very intense scene, though, after they get tipped out of the boat and she loses them and then she finds them and then they're getting chased. But then nothing happened. Way too anticlimactic. Like, this is what I'm saying about this movie being cinematic blue balls, because all this buildup and not a one of them, I get it, it's a nice feel good ending, but not a single one of them died or were really in any real danger. We didn't see what's been causing all the ruckus. I needed more than just hey, we found a blind school, we survived. I needed more than that. And then once they get to the school and they're getting acclimated here and they're like, oh, thank God, what a relief. Fuck going to play with the other kids. They need some baths. They were disgusting. That's the first thing I'd want to do is some hot water in a bath. But, and then you're going to name her Olympia? I get it. That's her mom. But Jessica would have been a better name, because I would want to forget Olympia as soon as humanly possible. I would want to wipe her from my memory, and I would rather honor my sister than honor some stranger that got me into a bunch of shit. So that was frustrating as well. But overall, I mean, the ending was just hands down the worst part about the entire movie. Oh, and side note, though, shout out to Pruitt Taylor Vince, who played Rick, the guy that they were communicating with on the video here. He's going to be in 3 straight movies that we reviewed. Do y'all realize that? He was in Bird Box. He's in Identity. He's in Constantine.
Oh, nice.
That's incredible.
Nice. I was going to say, and Dustin will be the only one that gets this. But when they got to the School of the Blind, I was hoping that it was Xavier's School for the Gifted.
Dude, the first time I was like, oh, this is Charles Xavier's School for the Gifted. I love it.
That's one hell of a fun fact. All right, let's jump into social media comments and questions. Let's do Facebook first. Kevin Potoff commented, yawn. Can't believe that I made it through this pile of turds. I would avoid it. Jesus.
It's not that bad. Good God.
That's pretty
bad. All
right,
Clayton J said, this movie was really well done, in my opinion. Definitely one we rewatch at least once a year. Jesus Christ. That sentence had me in a stranglehold. Similarly, Netflix put out The Silence a year later. If you haven't seen that one, you should, especially if Bird Box is something you like. What a fun month you guys have had. It has been a fun month. I've enjoyed this month, Mike. Absolutely. And Anthony Dix commented, going to have a rewatch in that case. I thought it was kind of entertaining, but a bit crappy at the same time. See how it plays now. Hey, I feel you, man. Let's jump over to Twitter now. Sean Irwin tweeted us saying, very average movie. Nothing great about it, but a decent enough watch. If you think about it, no one's going to survive that ending, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of feel you, brother. Kevin Scanlon, teammate of the show, to quote DM Frank, this movie was a 2-pack of unwashed ass, or my personal favorite, it's a Costco-sized tub of ass juice. Not a bad concept overall, but they missed the mark by a mile. I was rooting for everyone to die, except the blind kids. I'm not a monster.
I agree, but fuck them kids.
Hey, Mookie replied back with a Michael Jordan meme. Fuck them kids. Randy Smith, the biggest Georgia Bulldog fan that likes us. Is this the movie about Tennessee's defense? Both are crap.
Oh, man. I mean, you're not wrong, but we don't have to go there.
All right, the last tweet we have is from Andrew Ferguson, legendary blood donor. Has there ever been a movie that spawned so many memes within a few weeks of its release than this one? I can't think of any other. Right, not off the top of my head,
No,
anyways.
they were everywhere. And I know Dustin's about to touch on the dumbest thing to come out of this movie, but those memes were everywhere, especially Gary holding the old woman's eyes open. That's something. Every time something bad happened for Florida State that year, which was a lot, everyone's like, "Watch it! You have to watch it." I was like, "No, I don't have to watch it."
Doing that, and then people putting blindfolds on and taking pictures of them and peeking out from underneath it. Yeah, that was everywhere. I sent that to y'all.
All right, that's the last of social media comments and questions. Dustin, you said you had some fun facts?
Yeah, I got a couple here. So, yeah, 89 million households streamed it in its first 4 weeks of release. This is the second most ever for a Netflix original film. That is insane.
That's a lot.
And the dumbest thing to come out of this movie was the Bird Box Challenge. In January 2019, a 17-year-old girl in a blindfold crashed into oncoming traffic while doing the Bird Box Challenge. And they had the news release a statement, "Do not do this, it's dangerous." Netflix put up a statement before you could click play on the movie. It used to play a message. That just shows, like, Charles Darwin was so right, man. Like, survival of the fittest. I say just let those people go at it. We need a Hunger Games or a Purge Night.
Dude, it's OTSS. Only the strong survive. I mean, that's
exactly.
No, I don't understand that. It's golly, I'm trying to get thinning out the herd, as a friend of mine, Jeff Cameron, likes to say. We're thinning out the herd here.
Yeah. In July of 2020, Netflix announced the sequel was in development. Nope, don't do it. Please, God, I hope that doesn't get greenlit. We don't need a sequel.
What would it be about?
I don't
That
care.
was 2 years ago, and they haven't even really.
Right. So. I'm sure COVID's it's really slowed it if they were doing. I don't know, but just don't do it. And then last thing I've got, there was originally plans for the creatures to appear on screen. They even designed one and shot a scene with it. And Sandra Bullock described it as a green man with a horrific baby face. It was discarded because it made the scene funny. Like, I get that. Like, if it looks bad, oh no, we can't take. But I needed something. I needed to have at least something for scale to know what we're looking at, what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, my go here?
I do.
Go ahead.
Talking financials, Dustin's favorite thing. All right, so this movie was made for $19.8 million. And obviously it was a streaming service movie, so, Netflix, I doubt it made any actual money. I doubt it up their subscriber count. But Dustin actually sent me, which I did not have, he sent me a study to show what this movie would have made had it had a theatrical release. It says a Barclay study deduced that had the film done a theatrical release, it would have cost about $98 million worldwide. That is crazy to me. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of change. I mean, that's Halloween franchise numbers right there. That's crazy.
Yep. It's a good chunk of money. All right, guys, y'all ready to jump into the favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating? Anybody in particular want to go first?
I'll go ahead and go first. It's my movie, and I just want to get it out of the way.
It's up to you.
Yeah, let me go ahead and go. Then you go. Favorite kill? Does anyone want to guess? This is my favorite part of the whole movie.
Olympia. That's actually
it wasn't the best looking kill, but I just needed it. It was so satisfying. Least favorite kill, I'm going to go with Tom, just because it was avoidable. Like, he didn't have to do that. And then also it was off screen. So, and I like Tom, man. He was a good character. So I went with Tom. But as for the movie and my rating and my thoughts, it's a good movie. Well done. But the ending fell so flat that I just can't forgive it. I feel like we needed to see the creatures at least once, other than Gary's drawings. Like I said, I get that it looked funny, but they should have given us something, at least for scale, to see how big they are and get an idea of how survivable it is. And then also I need to, like, they left too many things unexplained, like how some people were able to survive for a little while, how some people were able to survive forever, just convince other people to look, how some people immediately wanted to kill themselves. And then how some people just gazed out the window for a split second and they're infected with the rage. And then some people, I don't know. It just left too many questions undone. Anyway, up until the last 10 minutes or so, it's actually a solid movie. Its pacing's a little off and it drags on at times, but the last 10 minutes or the ending in particular kills it for me. It brings it down a full 2 points for me, so I'm going to give it a 5.25.
All right, I'll go next. Favorite kill for me is Cheryl, the lady who stabbed. I'm stealing Dead Meat's favorite and least favorite kill. I like the stab to the neck with the scissors. And least favorite kill is definitely Gary. That son of a bitch needed to be killed on screen and, viciously killed at that. I agree with you, Dustin, a lot. There's just so many questions that were left unanswered and not explained, like why some people could look at this thing and just basically become the creature itself, force people to look at it. I don't like the time jump, like I mentioned, but I'm not going to just repeat myself over and over about I think it was well acted, well made, and all that good stuff. Overall, the movie didn't really do much for me. It's just not one I'll rewatch ever again, but I will acknowledge that it's good, like production wise. And I actually gave it the same as you, Dustin, 5.25.
All right, I'm gonna let Brian go last, the distinguished gentleman on this show. That's you, Brian. I give you a compliment. I know that's rare. I just thought I'd dap you up a little bit, buddy.
I'll take it.
Also, the best damn producer in the business. Anyway, So my it was kind of hard for me to find a favorite kill, but I think I kind of touched on it earlier. My favorite kill is probably the same as Dustin's, but for a different reason. It's Olympia, but I liked how realistic that jump out the window looked. Like, I mean, if you're going to jump out a window, it's not going to be just this free falling situation. She kind of mumbled and stumbled on the way down, and I like the leading up to it. Like, I like how they built that story. I thought that was a good kill. My least favorite kill, same as Nico. Gary, what the fuck, man? You make this guy the biggest asshole in the movie, which he was, and that's the death you give him. That's bullshit, man. All right, so I've gone over my nitpicks. I don't think they're all nitpicks. I think some are valid criticism. There's a lot of leaps in logic. There's just some creative stuff that I just didn't care for. It's a well-made movie. It's a well-shot movie. The performances are good. It's none of that. I just think writing, creative, I would have liked to see something a little bit different, maybe a little more grounded in reality. So all of that being said, I gave this movie a 6 flat.
Okay. My favorite kill, I actually picked John Malkovich's one. I thought it looked good on screen, and I also picked Gary as my least favorite kill for the same reason. I think again the acting with Bullock, I think carries this thing. She's phenomenal. I've said nothing but issues throughout. I totally understand why people don't like this, and we've reviewed and torn this apart by now. I shouldn't like it, but I still kind of do. I can't really explain it. Like, I don't plan on watching it again unless it's with the family or something, but I didn't dislike it. I'm gonna rate it a 6.75 just based on my enjoyment factor.
Okay. So that gives us a composite score of 5.8125, and we're a little bit lower than IMDb at a 6.6.
All right, guys. Any more final thoughts?
They know anyway. Fuck them. They don't know shit. We do. Oh, sorry.
Any final thoughts before I just shout out our blood donors? All right. Blood donors, I really appreciate y'all. Y'all take a big burden off us. I can't stress that enough. Camper level reoccurring, Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, and a new blood donor, Brian Samek, I think is how you say it. Camp Council reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Heather Smith, Kylie Denise, all the way from Australia, Adrian Aiello, Jake Hambrick, the Legion podcast, and Clay Moore, my friend. Appreciate it. And we have 2 blood donor film reviews to do, which we're doing next week. And those guys are Christian Cunningham and Matt Sears. And I'll go ahead and announce the 2 movies we're doing next week. Before we do our next theme month, we're going to be doing Identity and Constantine. 2 movies I haven't seen, so I'm looking forward to knocking those reviews out next week.
Mike, I, for one, am shocked that you haven't seen them.
Yeah, we know, Dustin. Fuck off. Mike, this was a really fun theme, man. I really liked it. I'm glad you picked it. I got to see 3 new movies this month.
Love to see that.
All right, guys. Anything else y'all want to conclude the episode with, or
Nope.
All
Happy
right.
Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving, everybody? Y'all have a good one.
Just want to remind everybody